Welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, the show where we empower coaches and experts to use podcasting as a powerful tool to drive sales and to grow your business. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today we're going to be diving deep into one of the questions that I get asked all the time. How exactly does podcasting drive sales? So, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through 3 ways podcasting can do just that, just like it did for me and my business. These strategies have completely transformed my business, taking me from scattered content creation and random guest appearances to a steady stream of leads, sales, and collaborative partnerships. If you're a coach or an entrepreneur, podcasting can help you achieve the same results. Now, there is one thing, it's not just about pressing the record button and talking into the mic. Podcasting, when done with intention, becomes a powerful tool for building authority, shifting your audience's beliefs, and nurturing relationships that can lead to referrals and more sales. So let's dive into the 3 ways podcasting can drive sales for your coaching business. So, number one is all about the content creation. I think everybody thinks about this, they just see it as a PR move and a way to create content, which it absolutely is. Now, when I first started podcasting, I was running around like a headless chicken. I had no strategy, no plan, and no idea how this could actually benefit my business beyond just giving me a platform to talk. Like many new podcasters, I thought that simply having a show would automatically translate into more leads and sales. But I quickly learned that podcasting is much more than that. And it's much more than just showing up once a week and hitting the record button. I remember back in 2021, I was inviting anyone and everyone to be a guest. It didn't matter if they were aligned with my business or not. I thought that the more guests that I had, the better. But it wasn't long before I found myself buried in the whole logistics, finding the guests, chasing them for their bios, scheduling them, recording, editing, uploading, and promoting the episodes. Exhausting. I spent more time managing the show than I did actually benefiting from it. But here's where it changed for me. I realized that my podcast could be more than just a fun side project. It could be a powerful content creation tool, an engine that can fuel my entire business. So it's all about repurposing. You can repurpose to multiply your sales opportunities. It's more than just an audio show. It's the foundation of a content strategy that can drive sales. So let me explain how this works. For most coaches and entrepreneurs, one of the biggest challenges that they face is constantly coming up with content ideas, constantly creating content that resonates with their audience. We know that we need to stay visible online, but between coaching sessions and meetings and personal life, creating fresh content can feel like a full-time job. And that's where your podcast can come in. Here's a strategy that changed everything for me. Every single podcast episode that I record is repurposed into multiple pieces of content that continue to work for me long after the episode is published. For example, let's say you record a 30-minute episode. That single episode can be turned into a blog post or a LinkedIn article, social media clips, short form videos that you can use for Instagram Reels, TikTok videos, YouTube Shorts. Then you can create quote graphics for LinkedIn or Instagram, a newsletter for your email list, tweets or threads that can keep the conversation going long after the show airs. So this process allows you to multiply your visibility, with very little work. And that's crucial because staying top of mind with your audience is key to driving sales. Every touch point, whether it's a tweet or a blog post, whether it's a short form video, this reminds your audience of the value that you offer and keeps them engaged with your brand. Think about it like this: you create one piece of content, but it then turns into a blog or an article, a video, an email, and across multiple social media platforms. You're not just putting content out there for the sake of it. You're creating sales driven, valuable content that helps your audience and it positions you as an expert. For example, I remember one episode that I did on imposter syndrome. Now, that episode didn't just become a podcast episode. It didn't just stay there. It was turned into an in-depth, long-form blog post. I extracted key quotes to use on social media and created short-form videos to continually promote that episode. So as a result, that one episode continued to drive traffic and leads to my business for weeks afterwards. So you can also take it a step further, right? I use AI tools. There's so many out there that streamline the repurposing process. You've got transcription tools like Otter AI or Descript that can take the entire episode and just turn it into text. Then it's really easy to use AI to turn it into a blog post. You can use other AI tools to turn it into short form videos. AI is there to make your life easier. It can quickly generate quote graphics. So using these tools, you can repurpose your content faster than ever before. So if you're not repurposing your podcast, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. Your podcast isn't just a platform, it is a complete PR machine. So use your podcast episodes as a foundation of your whole content strategy. You'll stay visible, you'll build authority, and you'll create multiple touch points that lead your audience down the sales funnel. Now, number 2 is all about shifting the belief in the listener. You can overcome doubts and sell with stories. So this is huge. This is very powerful. This is a very powerful aspect of your podcasting journey, shifting the belief in the listener. When I first started my podcast, I didn't realize how much of an impact on the listener that I could make, how I could shift the mindset. I was focusing on delivering value, but I didn't really understand the power of storytelling and how that could shift my audience's beliefs. And over time that I learned that each episode is an opportunity to help my listeners overcome the doubts and fears that keep them from investing in themselves and ultimately in my services. So guiding your audience to overcome some of the internal barriers or external limiting beliefs, right? Think about the common doubts that your potential clients have before they decide to invest in your services. They might be thinking, I don't have the time for this. I can't afford this. They're more external. Oh, what if I invest, but it doesn't work for me, internal. See, as a coach, there are many internal barriers that prevent your audience from actually moving forwards. And the beauty of podcasting is that it allows you to address those concerns head on, week in, week out, episode after episode. Because in every episode, you have the chance to tell stories, share success stories, provide real life examples that show your audience what's possible for them. This is what shifts their mindset from I can't to I can, or maybe I can. I remember early in my podcasting journey, I had a listener reach out who had been on the fence about hiring someone. She told me that for months she had hesitated because she wasn't sure if she could afford it, and she doubted whether she could really actually get the results that she wanted. But after listening to an episode where I did share a client success story, someone who had similar fears but still went on to achieve amazing results, she started to believe that it was possible for her too. And this is the power of it. This is the power of storytelling. Your podcast isn't just about sharing information, giving tips and advice. It's about showing your listeners what's possible for them. So address these limiting beliefs, whether it's cost, time, confidence. One of the most one of the most common limiting beliefs I see is obviously the fear of cost. People are hesitant to invest in coaching because they're not sure if it's worth it. It's intangible. So, in your podcast, you can shift this belief by sharing stories of clients who still made the investment and saw incredible results. I share stories about how investing in coaching led to long term business growth, higher income, or life changing transformations. And it's these real life examples that help your listener see the value in investing in themselves. Another common barrier could be time. So your listeners might think, I don't have the time to commit to this right now. So again, through your podcast, you can guide them to see that small, consistent actions can lead to big results. Another example is I often talk about how dedicating a few hours a week to personal development can make a huge difference in the long run. Or for me personally, we can handle everything for you. So it gives you back your time. And then, of course, there's always the confidence barrier. Many people don't invest in maybe your services because they don't believe that they're capable of change. They don't believe that they're capable of achieving the results that they want. So, in your podcast, you can break this down, break this limiting belief down by sharing stories of people who once doubted themselves, but still went on to achieve amazing results. So, by showing your listeners what's possible, you then shift them from self doubt to self belief. So, over time, your podcast becomes a powerful tool for shifting those beliefs. So, consistently show up, share stories, and address your audience's doubts. You build trust and connection. And when your audience trusts you, they're just more likely to then invest in your services. The final part is about building relationships by turning your guests into referral partners. This is the final piece of the puzzle, and it's one of the most unexpected benefits of podcasting. Building relationships that lead to sales. Now, when I started my podcast, I didn't realize how powerful guest interviews could be if you're intentional behind it. Because at the beginning, as I said, I was inviting anybody, I was inviting random people onto the show without any real strategy. But as I gained more experience and got more intentional, I began to see the incredible potential that guest interviews hold, not just for the content, but for building lasting relationships that can lead to referrals or collaborationships or referrals or collaborations or partnerships and sales. So build relationships from guest to client or referral source. Every single time you invite someone to be a guest on your show, you're creating an opportunity to build a new relationship. This isn't just about having a nice conversation, it's about creating a long term connection that can benefit both of you. It's a win, it's always about the win. So, for example, one of the most pivotal moments in my podcasting journey was when I invited Laban Ditchburn to be a guest on my show. And through that interview, he referred Evans Part Evans Putman. I had no idea that this interview would lead to a partnership. that would change my own business. Because after that episode aired, we stayed in touch and eventually I joined the Podcast Profit School. Now, that led to more sales. I also learned a lot more to change the strategy of my own podcast. That was massive for me. More recently, I joined the team of the Icons of Real Estate podcast as a host, but also driving realtors into their business, their podcast production services. I do podcast production services too, but we weren't in competition because I wasn't dealing with realtors, people in the real estate business. Now, because of that, that has added an extra $10,000 a month to my income. Now, none of this would have happened if I hadn't nurtured relationships. This is where many podcasters go wrong. They record the episode, thank the guest, and then they move on. But if you take the time to build relationships with your guests, that can start with even before the episode is recorded, even. And then if you do a good job after the episode by providing all of these assets, by using AI to turn it into quote cards, to turn it into newsletter blurb, to turn it into a blog post, you are going to be seen by the guest as highly professional. They're more likely to refer people to you. So it's all about taking the time to nurture the relationship. Follow up with your guests, stay connected, and explore collaboration opportunities. And you open the door to incredible possibilities. So be strategic about your guest selection. Invite guests who align with your business. This is the tip. Be intentional about who you invite to be a guest on your show. Think about people who align with your business, align with your goals. Maybe they're potential clients, they could be referral partners, or industry leaders who could open doors for you. Each guest is an opportunity to expand your network, gain new clients, or create a partnership. You don't know where this will lead. One of the most powerful aspects of guest interviews is the potential for referrals. After you've built that relationship with your guest, they're much more likely to refer clients to you. In fact, some of my highest paying clients have come through referrals from guests or have come from guests that I had on my podcast. And because we had already built that trust during the interview process, those referrals were much more likely to convert into sales. So, my tip is keep showing up because consistency is key. There you have it. 3 powerful ways that podcasting can drive sales for your coaching business. Number 1, content creation. Use your podcast as the foundation of your podcast, of your content strategy. Repurpose episodes into blog posts, articles, social media content, newsletters, short form videos, and more. Use AI to save time. Then number 2, shifting beliefs. Help your audience overcome their limiting beliefs by sharing stories and addressing their doubts and showing them what's possible. And finally, number 3, building relationships. Leverage your guest interviews to build relationships that will generate referrals and create collaboration opportunities that lead to sales. But this is the most important part. Keep showing up. Podcasting is a long-term strategy. It's not about quick wins. It's about consistency and building relationships over time. The more you show up, the more trust you build, and the more likely your audience is to invest in your services. At Podcast Profits Limited, we specialize in helping coaches like you launch and grow podcasts that are profitable from day one. So if you're ready to take your podcast to the next level and start driving sales, book a call with us today. Let's turn your podcast into a sales machine that works for you day and night. So thanks for tuning in to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. Until next time, keep sharing your voice and watch how podcasting can drive sales for your coaching business. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button now so that you get a notification for when the next episode drops. And if you'd like to book a call, go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/appointment. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, or healer who would like to drive sales whilst having fun podcasting, head over to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and find out how you can turn your podcast into a sales machine. We'll see you on the next episode.